Ever feel like your streaming queue is judging you? Sometimes the scariest things don't lurk in the shadows of your street. They lurk in the shadows of your living room. Tonight, we're diving into Tubi's darkest corners, supernatural thrillers that will make your skin crawl, psychological horror that twists your mind, and cult classic horror you secretly love. Stick around. Follow me so you don't miss more chilling lists. 1. Ascension, 2018. Claustrophobic, unsettling, Ascension drags you into grief's darkest corner. Ascension is a slow-burn supernatural thriller that sinks its teeth into your nerves from the first eerie silence. The story follows a grieving teen navigating a violent, disturbed sister dynamic, with tension mounting like a pressure cooker ready to explode. Every shot feels suffocating, every shadow suspicious, and just when you think it might breathe, the horror hits, a mix of psychological dread and raw familial violence. The supernatural elements are subtle, creeping, yet deeply unsettling, making it perfect for late-night viewing alone, with the lights off. For me, this is an 8.3 out of 10, a tense, unnerving journey that lingers long after the screen goes black. And if you thought that was twisted, wait until Brightwood traps its lovers in a nightmare loop. 2. Brightwood, 2022. Looped nightmares, toxic love, Brightwood will twist your mind. Brightwood is indie sci-fi horror that doesn't just scare, it disorients. A couple finds themselves caught in a looping nightmare around a pond, with surreal, almost dreamlike visuals that mimic the spiraling toxicity of their relationship. Time is fluid, logic optional, and the tension builds in waves of unease. The mind-bending horror comes not from jump scares but from the growing realization that the characters, and maybe even you, are trapped. The cinematography is stunning, the pacing deliberate, and every eerie reflection in the water feels loaded with dread. For me, this is a 9 out of 10, a chilling exploration of human obsession and psychological horror that rewards patience. And if you're ready for something cerebral yet sinister, Prodigy's supernatural chess match awaits. 3. Prodigy, 2017. A young genius, with powers that'll haunt your dreams. Prodigy is a cerebral thriller steeped in psychological horror. A psychologist faces a young prodigy whose supernatural abilities create a tense, almost chess-like battle of wits. Each scene crackles with suspense. The quiet moments are far more terrifying than any scream. The film's brilliance lies in its subtle manipulation of perspective. You're never sure who is in control, who is the predator, and who is the prey. The horror is cerebral, a slow gnawing unease that doesn't let go. I'd give this an 8.7 out of 10. Perfect for a late night, mind-bending session. And if you thought intellectual terror was intense, Rampage slams the door open with raw, chaotic violence. 4. Rampage, 2009. Homemade armor, and a man on a terrifying spree. Rampage is brutal, realistic, and unapologetically disturbing. It's a crime thriller that's horror adjacent, showing the descent of a man armored and unleashed upon the world. There's no supernatural mask hiding the horror here, just raw, violent chaos. The tension is relentless, making each encounter nerve-wracking. Every scene a nail-biting calculation of survival. Some may find it too divisive, too grim, but that's part of its power. It refuses to sugarcoat violence. I rate it 7.8 out of 10, a harsh, gripping experience best watched with lights on. And speaking of twists, I See You brings a home invasion mystery that will make you check every shadow in your house. 5. I See You, 2019. Family secrets, and someone's watching closer than you think. I See You combines mystery thriller with subtle supernatural hints to create a home invasion story that's as clever as it is creepy. When a boy goes missing, A detective's family becomes ensnared in paranoia, suspense, and mind-bending twists. The film expertly plays with perspective, making you second-guess what's real and what's imagined, just when you think you understand. A shocking revelation hits. Its pacing keeps you on edge. The scare's intelligent, and the home setting makes it hit uncomfortably close to reality. For me, it's an 8.5 out of 10. Perfect for evening viewing with a blanket and a flashlight. Next, Flightplan heightens claustrophobic terror to 30.000 feet. 6. Flightplan, 2005. 30.000 feet, and her daughter has vanished. Flightplan is classic psychological horror that plays on claustrophobia, grief, and paranoia. Jodie Foster's performance anchors the tension. As a mother searches for her missing daughter mid-flight, every aisle, overhead compartment, and empty seat becomes a potential threat, and the airplane's confined space amplifies every whisper and footstep. The suspense is relentless, building quietly, then snapping suddenly with jolting revelations. It's a tense, emotional rollercoaster that blends maternal fear with classic thriller beats. I'd give this a solid 8 out of 10. Perfect for a nighttime watch. Preferably alone or with someone who won't spoil the jumps. If you thought tight spaces were scary, Ghoulies will introduce you to puppets that are unnervingly charming. 7. Ghoulies, 1985. Tiny puppets, huge mischief and weird terror. Ghoulies is 80s cult classic horror that's equal parts creepy and campy. The little puppet demons are delightfully unsettling, bringing practical effects nostalgia and chaotic charm to every scene. It's playful, weird, and weirdly satisfying if you love horror that doesn't take itself too seriously. The humor undercuts the tension just enough to keep you laughing nervously. While the horror elements sneak in unexpectedly, classic cult magic. I give it a 7.5 out of 10, a fun, nostalgic dive into practical effects mastery. Best watched with friends and snacks. If you think that's quirky, Starfish turns grief and apocalyptic dread into a dreamlike, atmospheric meditation on loss. 8. Starfish, 2019. Grief, the end of the world, and a haunting soundtrack. Starfish is arthouse sci-fi horror that blends dreamlike visuals with psychological intensity. Following a grieving woman navigating the aftermath of tragedy, the film's atmosphere is almost hypnotic, using music and imagery to immerse you in emotional despair. It's not about jump scares, it's about feeling the end of the world, and feeling it deeply. The pacing is languid but purposeful, with each scene lingering just long enough to unsettle. Its horror is poetic, reflective, and quietly devastating. I'd rate it 8.4 out of 10. Best for a contemplative late-night watch with headphones. And if you thought subtle horror was profound, Halloween H20 brings Michael Myers back with relentless, iconic terror. 9. Halloween H20, 1998. Laurie Strode vs. Michael Myers, 20 years later.
Enough, I can't take it, Mom.
Halloween H20 is a franchise triumph, balancing nostalgia with fresh terror. Laurie Strode returns older, wiser, and scarred, facing Michael Myers in a tense, relentless showdown. The film's suspense builds expertly, punctuated by sudden shocks and clever misdirection. It's a supernatural thriller light, relying on tension, mood, and iconic villainy rather than cheap tricks. The pacing keeps viewers on edge. The scares are classic, and the emotional stakes elevate the horror. I'd give this a 9 out of 10. Perfect for fans revisiting Halloween lore or first-timers seeking a structured, iconic slasher. And just when you think the tension peaks, Meg 2. The Trench dives you straight into over-the-top monster chaos. 10. Meg 2. The Trench, 2023. Multiple megalodons, Jason Statham, chaos. Meg 2. The Trench is pure popcorn horror fun, leaning fully into over-the-top monster spectacle. Jason Statham battles monstrous megalodons in deep-sea chaos that's as thrilling as it is ridiculous. The film doesn't pretend to be subtle, the scares are loud. The action relentless. And the tension comes from watching humans versus impossibly large predators, and sometimes wondering if logic drowned at the bottom of the trench. The horror is playful, cinematic, and perfect for group viewing with snacks and a sense of humor. I rate it 8 out of 10, a blast for weekend entertainment that reminds us horror can just be fun. From slow-burning supernatural dread to campy puppet demons, Tubi's selection proves horror isn't just about scares, it's about mood, curiosity, and a little chaotic fun. Psychological horror, supernatural thrillers, cult classics, they all left their mark. Which movie got under your skin the most? Dare to comment below.